Today is today is April 25th, 2025. Now that I have an idea how trading works, things seem to be clicking. Uh, whereas before, whereas before, when I got funded, all I knew was that all I had to do was get 0.5% each day, and then it took me about because I was at my last straw. I was at the end of my ropes, and I decided, okay, so if I'm going to make this work, I'm going to do something that I did not do in the past, which means that doing the same thing and expecting something else is foolish. But if I do something different and then expect something different, then that has a chance. So I ended up going for 0.5%. And sure enough, I was able to document it day by day, and then pass the phase one, and miraculously pass phase two, and then I was able to get to the funded stage, and I got that all from uh, trading small, and expecting a 0.5% per day. So what I've noticed about the way that I traded in the past is different than the mindset that I have right now. So the trading that I had in the past was incomplete. Although the idea was correct, essentially trading. So I'm trying to recollect what kind of trading that I did, but it's very different than what I was trading today. I mean, these days. These days I'm uh, these days I have a better idea now. So I have a better idea because I have a specific edge now. I have a specific edge that is different than the method that I used for about a month and a half to get funded. So now this particular edge, uh, probably everybody knows. Everybody knows about it. I've seen professionals discuss it the way that it's described. Um, so essentially, practically everybody who is consistent knows how to trade in this manner. It is those people who don't know, just don't know. And so uh, I was at the end of my ropes, trying to. I mean, now I've failed like 350 prop firm challenges. So as of today, I am steadily progressing from a few days ago, where I have spent my last dollar. I essentially spent my last dollar, and this time it's different. Professionals talk about, okay, so as soon as I think I know what's going on, then they say that after a few years, they discover something more different, and so it's an ongoing progression of understanding it, right? So for me, on a personal level, I want to achieve $1 billion. Okay, I just want to make sure that I I be very truthful about my current predicament, right? I have nearly $0 in my bank account. I have $3 in my wallet, and the wallet is all worn, and I haven't made a single penny. Okay, and I've lost everything in the market. But the goal is for me to progress enough such that in 1 year I wish to make $1 billion. I want to make $1 billion from trading. Okay, something like George Soros or something. People like that. I want to get into that. I want to get. I want to get there. I want to get into that position. I want to say, okay, some people have like, uh, um, so that's the plan. Okay, so Some people are like seven-figure, eight-figure traders, right? Some the eight-figure traders. I think that means it's like 10 million bucks or something like that. At least 10 million per year, right? So that's where I'm heading towards, and uh, so I have it in mind. I have in mind how I'm going to progress. Okay, so the strategy still is what I've noticed that if I what why it does that? Why does it work? I've noticed that the reason why it works is because it gives me time to rest. So when I'm attempting to achieve like more than a percent per day, um, achieving relatively close to like a half a percent or a little above half a percent is a lot easier than attempting to achieve 1% somehow, for some reason. And so it could stretch out sometimes. And so if it stretched out during those times when I have to wash dishes, I have to wash dishes for about 7 hours, right? Approximately about 7 hours. Then I trade. And then I have to get some sleep. If I don't get any sleep, then essentially, as soon as I click on something, the mind just shifts into some sort of essentially just chaotic mode where it runs by itself. The mind runs by itself when I don't have enough sleep. The mind runs by itself. So the strategy that I have is currently to be a little bit above half a percent. Okay, I'm attempting to make a little bit above half a percent, and then plus the utilization of the strategy that I've disclosed publicly on LinkedIn and all that stuff. So I'm using that strategy. So in combination of setting a profit target that is achievable, that allows me to at least get some sleep, and then have a solid strategy that allows me to get to that level. Okay, it is a strategy, a tool that allows me to get to that level per day. And so I figure once I get to that point of passing phase one, utilizing this setup, this this strategy that I have, then this time around, once I get into the funded stage, the the likelihood of me getting a payout is going to be quite is going to be a lot higher this time around. So um, I moved into that situation the first time around where I got funded is reaching to the point where I said to myself, this has to stop. I have to trade differently. I have to change the way that I have to change my mindset in trading. And that's the reason why it took me it I was able to document everything meticulously for about a month and a half until I got funded. But in order for me to get to that point, I had to get to the point where I received my tax return and this dishwasher tax return money, right? And I sunk every penny, practically every penny into it, like blowing, like breaching like 2 to 3 within like 2 to 3 hours because the money was there, and I would just buy it. I would size big, and I would lose. I would size big, lose, essentially not having a solid, large risk size trade. Okay, it was fine for small size, but it wasn't meant for large size. So these professionals they risk. What they do is they risk like half a percent to gain or like 2% somewhere around there. And so their efficacy is going to be high, which is 60 to 70%. When that 60 to 70% occurs with that that the win to loss ratio, they're going to win. Okay. So for me, when I entered into it, the so the edge was not fully baked. Okay. But the conditions met where small size allowed me to get to that point somehow. Okay, just purely using small size, what I would do is I would enter. If it moves against me, I had plenty of time because it would move so slowly because the risk size is small. So then I can logically think about it and say, oh, it's wrong. So I'd exit, and in many of the cases, what I would do is I would enter, and then it would go into the red, but it wasn't. So it was palpable. Okay, it was acceptable. And then it would turn around and move in my direction, and I would eventually take a decent gain off of that, and I would repeat that, and then I would get it. Now I've come to the point of reaching another end of my ropes right now. Okay, so like I pointed out, um, so but it's different this time. It seems to be different, and what professionals talk about is that as soon as I think I know sufficient amount of things about trading, then as experiences are gained, there are there are more and more and more things that are coming up. For instance, as an example, I am attempting to make $1 billion in 1 year, right? So I don't know that yet. So I have to figure that out. Okay, so how do I figure that out, right? Obviously, it's going to be something related to some type of swing trading that so we're talking about maybe a month or two or something like that, where the risk is going to be enormous, right? If we're talking about $1 billion, so I'm thinking ahead of how I'm going to approach that, right? So the tax consequences is going to be enormous. Okay, so if I have to pay, yeah, so approximately, I don't know if this is gonna ever happen, but it's good to talk about it, right? So if I make $1 billion 1 year, the tax is gonna be about 50%, right? Somewhere around 50%. So that's gonna be 500 million bucks. Anyway, anyway, so so that's that. So now as I disclosed, currently in my pocket, let's see, in my pocket, in my pocket, let's see, in my pocket, I have $4. One, two, three, four. Okay. And then in my bank account, I have currently one check that was sent out, which will bring it down to $3. Okay. So I have in total $7. And then this wallet has been with me for I don't know how long. I mean, the leather has just essentially just rubbed off. The leather has just rubbed off, okay? Anyway, there's essentially nothing in here. So I'm at the point where now um it took a very long time to get to this point of understanding this principle. Okay, this principle that allows me to have this edge. Okay, so the story will start to unfold. Who knows? Who knows? I saw some of these young, really good traders. The guy says, "Hey, look, I made $300,000. Uh, like, I made $300,000. Okay, I don't know how long like it took him." And he says, "I took all of it and bought this car." So obviously they have a house already, right? From something. Okay, so maybe I would love to get to that point. I would love to get to that point, but I'm just like, this is I'm at currently I'm at the end of my rope. Okay, I think it's the right phrase. It's called end of my ropes. Is it end of my rope or is it end of my ropes? Anyway, so this is the second time around. Uh, I've settled down a little bit now. As soon as I lost my first funded account this year, okay, it was in April. I think it was in April. Uh, and I started to like, whoa, the mind, I'll tell you what, the mind just goes berserk. It just goes on a tangent, and the mind will control whatever happens. I'll tell you what, it's 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 an eye awakening kind of a situation. It really is. It allows me to look at myself because I'm looking at myself. Whereas in the past, I would look at something else and manipulate things and then make it work. But I never looked at myself, right? Now I'm looking at myself. In the past, when I was working as an engineer, I would like look at the material, try to understand it, right? Work on it. Whatever the deficiencies that I had, it was bypassed to understand how to get to the solution. and it took different amount of time from another person compared to me, because my perspective, my experience was different. But I never looked at myself. It just took a certain amount of time and it got done. Now, in order for me to get something done, I have to look at myself. I have to look at my behavior and see what kind of things am I introducing into these trades that are impacting the results. I've noticed that just today. Just today, the trade came down right at the support area, right? But for some reason, but for some reason, I jumped the gun, and before it went through, and then had a candle that exceeded it, which would have allowed it a which would have allowed a higher probability that that it would punch right through. Okay, but what I did was I just shorted right there. As soon as it was near, right above the support area, I just got in because I was impatient. Sure enough, it flicked around, dipped a little bit. I was excited, and then it started to just reverse. And so luckily I got out, okay? Because what it did was it reversed. Within a time frame, it was a major trend reversal, okay? Within that time frame, it was a major trend reversal. So the mind, there's so there's an impatient part of me that wants to enter into it, like extrapolating it. The brain is extrapolating what I want it to happen instead of allowing the market to tell me what it's going to do. So, if I, that's how I can increase the probability that my action will result in a higher probability, higher ratio of win to loss ratio. Okay, with that gap, with that edge. Okay, that's the whole point. The edge is only realized when I have waited patiently for a particular point where that edge starts to kick in. Okay, so as soon as I entered into it, when that edge becomes a higher, when that edge becomes positive. Okay, when the edge becomes positive. Otherwise, if it's before, then there is a higher probability of, because it hasn't established itself, so it has more variables to do. So now I'm applying that principle of the strategy that I have, which has been essentially been worked on and got to this point, uh, and 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 normally the idea is not to switch. I guess I guess I guess I guess there's a professionals talk about switching uh, techniques or something like that. But it really isn't a switching of techniques. It's actually a formation. It's a formation of seeing things a little bit more clearly. Whereas in the past it was essentially it was just searching in the dark. Okay, now it's like the light has been turned on. So I'm at the end of my ropes. So so this time around, I'm gonna make another run for it. Hopefully, it'll be shorter, and then once I get to the, yeah, um, once I get to wow, once I get a payout, then I can be more aggressive. Okay, when I get a payout, it means that what I'm doing is good, so I can be slightly more aggressive in order to enhance it, shorten the time, or make the profits a little bit bigger. So those things will keep building up as things start to develop.